Welcome back to the Slasher Siblings podcast. I'm your co-host Cicily with Bun Bun on my lap.
I'm your host, Hated.
And today we're talking about Pacific Heights. Came out in 1990. It's rated R. It's an hour and 42 minutes long. And it got a 6.4 out of 10 on IMDb. A couple works hard to renovate their dream house and become landlords to pay for it. Unfortunately, one of their tenants has plans of his own.
So I'll go ahead and read the question.
Was it the second one? Leatherface was a character?
Yeah, yep.
Leatherface was a character in what horror film? The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
So if you got that one, good job.
And we mentioned it in the last podcast. We had talked about it.
Oh yeah, it was the video.
That's why we said it was a hint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you didn't get it, better luck next time. I don't know why I say that. I'm just...
Better luck next time, guys. For real.
So, let's get into Cicily's pick.
This was a pick that I just came up with off the top of the dome. But that's because I just recently watched it by myself.
By accident, right?
Yeah. I was definitely not a sober person at the time, and I was not in my right mind. And I said, oh, it says thriller. No, it's a horror. It's definitely a horror movie. But it's really good. Yeah, it is right?
Good. Yeah, it's good. So I liked the mysterious opening. Kind of like tells us like who no one is.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? And those guys just show up and beat the crap out of Hayes. Like, it was just so mysterious. Like, these dudes just showed up.
No explanation.
No explanation or anything.
And you kind of feel bad.
Yeah, kind of. At first, you're like, oh, well, that seems like unnecessary.
Yeah.
Did he deserve it? And, like, we have no idea who these two people are. We have no idea who the two people are that beat the crap out of them. And plus, the opening was, like, it just showed, like, windmills and, like, the desert. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't show, like, anybody or anything about the movie. It just, like, showed the desert and stuff. So it was a very mysterious type opening, but it kind of finds answers we find answers as we go through the movie. So we find the main characters of the movie, Patty and Drake.
Okay.
Patty and Drake.
There we go.
We find them, and they're looking into buying this house so that they can rent it out. And we get all this information right in the beginning, right? And they were worried about paying for it, and they ended up getting the loan that they tried for, which was
dope.
A pretty big loan, $750,000, $749,000. Yeah, especially for 1990. Yeah.
That's a lot of money, dude.
They were saying that a lawyer's retainer was like $200 or...
Oh, man.
No. They were saying it was like $75 or something. I don't remember what it was. It was really low. And I was like, to retain a lawyer now, it's like $300, and then it's like $50 an hour.
Yeah.
And court almost never takes less than an hour, so it's like you're paying like $200 per time you need them on top of that $300. It was crazy. And then like later in the movie they go for another loan or something at some point, and they're like, we just need $5,000. It'll take care of us for a couple months. $5,000 takes care of you for months?
Yeah, dude.
It's like a week here to like in 2024.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really... this is way far ahead, but I thought it was really funny that he was like, yeah, if you have $5,800, we'll give you $5,000. She's like, if I have $5,800, I don't need your $5,000.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Yeah, like, what the hell?
That part, I was like...
Then what was the point?
Okay, then why are we here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, then they start fixing up the house, and it's a nice couple, nice little couple.
Yeah.
And
basic couple.
yeah, they're pretty normal for a couple, and they're fixing up their house. The woman was apparently the smart one, and she knew all the contracting-esque stuff. Like she was putting
girl
up
power. Am I right, bunch?
I don't really mean to say like she was the smart one or anything, because like any girl can do that. I just mean like you don't. It's usually the guy that knows about the electrical work and putting up the walls and shit like that.
Smart.
Yeah, she was smart, but then the kid makes the marks on the wall with that car. I would have rocked him upside the head.
I would have, yeah, that made me mad. When I saw
what
that,
are
I was
you
like,
doing?
are you fucking serious? Control your kid.
Not only that, like, your parents are coming to view this house. It's not even your house, it's someone else's.
Who let him bring that in?
Yeah, that too.
Just, we're walking in for a second.
Don't, yeah, like... And then she just, like, didn't care. Patty was just, like, all cool with it. And she's like... And then a next couple comes in, and they see the mark, and they're, like, trying to rub it off. And she's like, oh, we'll paint over it.
Yeah.
Like it was nothing. And this kid just came and ruined your wall that you just spent so much time trying to fix. And you're just like, oh, yeah, we'll paint over it.
I guess. What else
that's
are you
not
gonna
very
do?
easy.
What else are you gonna do?
Yeah, I guess. So the next tenant came to look at the room, and it was what kind of bothered me about him, the black guy, whatever the hell his name was that when he walked in, he kept like saying like, my credit is solid, and like she's like, okay, I need you to fill out this application. He's like, oh, my credit's solid.
Yeah.
Well, you still need to fill, but my credit's solid. Like, it's good. My credit is solid. Okay, but we still have, like, it's a legal thing. We have to have you fill out the application. Like, we have to. And he just kept saying, like, oh, my credit's good. Like, dude, we get it. We know. That's fine. Just fill it out because we have to.
Yeah.
That kind of annoyed me a little bit. But I wish they would have let him into renting instead of the other guy. By the end of the movie.
Well, yeah, you learn that they will regret that.
So, towards the end of the movie, we find out what this is that I'm about to talk about. But like, there was this note on the floor that someone shoved into the mail, the letter slot thing. It was just sitting there in front of the door. My question is, like, nobody saw it there? Like, no one. Like, all 15 people that walked, past it. They didn't see that note sitting on the floor. I think that's kind of odd, don't you?
Yeah, that's weird.
Like, no one saw it sitting there. But, yeah, we find out later what that is. We find out later in the movie exactly what that paper was. But, there was still... So, Michael Keaton's character, Hayes, I forget his first name, but Hayes shows up. Carter, that's it. Carter shows up, and he wants to rent the thing and everything. And there was just like an odd
vibe.
But it was like weird. An odd confrontation between the two of them about his credit. Like, there's no real true reason why someone can't look up your credit. It's just like, I work for this trust and blah blah blah, and it's private.
He was very like, it kind of sounded like he was in a gang. Like,
almost,
or like
yeah.
Part of the mafia.
Like, I can't talk about it and blah, blah, blah. And, you're not allowed to look it up, but here's some references. Like, just, dude,
I was like, oh, he's involved in some shit.
Like, there has to be something.
You're hiding something.
Yes. But he ends up, flashing his wallet, and there was a bunch of money. He's like, I'll give you a bunch of money right now if you let me take it.
That's how you do it, baby. Yeah.
So, they're up in their... Drake and Patty are up in their room, their house area, which is apparently the attic. And I just thought it was weird that they're like, making out and stuff on the table. And like, they look out the window, and like, the two neighbor ladies are just watching them.
Yeah.
I thought that was weird that they were just like... Number one, why are your blinds open for everyone to see?
That's what I say every time I walk into your dining room.
I hate that. I want them closed,
Okay,
but
me
she
too.
opens them all the time.
Oh.
I would open them a crack
Don't
so
start beef now.
I would open them a crack so Kami can look out the window, but then she rips them wide open
I'm sure she does.
she does. I want them shut. I want to go around shutting them all every day, but I know she's gonna yell at me. But then I'm like, first
I'm
of
not
all,
in this beef.
first of all, why
Team
are your
Cha-Cha.
blinds wide open just to, let anybody in the world see into your house?
Period.
But second of all, why are your neighbors so weird that they're just staring at you making out with each other?
Because they're freakazoids.
Apparently,
they're
but
weirdos.
Apparently, but
Mind
that was
your
like the only
business.
time that in the movie we see them.
It's so crazy when neighbors are super nosy. Definitely not talking about anybody.
Well, yeah, it is weird.
It is weird.
So then there's a moment at this point in the movie where the power goes out because one of the tenants accidentally hammered a nail into the electric wire and turned the power off in that section, right?
Yep.
So she goes down to fix the breakers or whatever, and while she's down working on the breakers and stuff, trying to get the power back on, Hayes is just watching them in the car.
Yeah.
So this is like the first, besides that odd interaction with the credit score and everything, this is the first like real strange like activity
occurrence.
Occurrence. Yeah, this is the first one where he's just like, he's sitting in the car staring at them after not paying the rent and stuff. Oh, we skipped a scene where he didn't pay the rent and the wire transfer didn't work, and Drake was trying to knock on the door to talk to him to be like, hey,
it didn't work.
It didn't work. And he was pretending not to be home, and you could see him like peeking out of the windows. He was just looking at him through the windows. You could see the curtain go back and stuff. But now he's sitting in his car and he's just twirling a razor blade, which we didn't get any like answer to why he had a razor blade. He just had it, just to make him look weird or whatever, creepy. And he was watching her from the car twirling a razor blade.
That's when I knew. I was like, okay, this guy's
weird.
a freak.
So she runs up and says to Drake, hey, Hayes is out in the garage or sitting in his car or whatever. So he runs down there because he wants his rent money, and he just takes off, squealing tire down the road.
That had to be so frustrating.
Yeah, but it's like he's just so weird.
Yeah, he's weird.
What did they actually get into? And then not too long after, we end up finding out that Patty is actually pregnant.
Yeah.
Which is good for them. And it kind of explains like why she was acting a little bit strange at the moment. She just didn't tell him yet. But yeah, she was pregnant at this point. And it seemed like that by their reaction, it was like in between happy and concerned because they just bought the house and it's not going so hot and they're almost out of money type thing, but they're like happy that they have a kid.
Shit.
Yeah, it's like oh shit, that's good, but is it the best timing kind of thing? And then he calls the cops, trying to get him out of the house, and of course he comes out and he needs to look good in front of the police. So he, puts on the whole story like, oh, the wire transfer didn't work, but they said it did, and blah, 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 and explaining this whole false story to the police to get the police on his side to think that, Drake's the crazy one, which is all part of his plan at this point.
His evil plan.
His evil plan. And then there was a dude just in the apartment instead of Hayes.
Oh my god,
he
that
kept
guy was
answering,
freaking me out.
Yeah, he just kept answering the door. But one day Anne shows up, that girl from the beginning that we didn't.
Yep, the blonde.
Yeah, the blonde. The girl from the beginning of the movie. She shows up looking for Carter. And the guy that was in that apartment, he just pulls her in there and is like talking to her like, hey, you need to go away because this is not the time. We're almost done here or whatever the hell that means.
Yeah.
But they needed another loan, so they went to the bank to talk about getting another loan, and they couldn't get it, which is awful for them because he won't pay them the money that he not only promised, but that they're also owed because he's a tenant. But he's like one payment. He gave the security deposit, but he didn't pay any rent yet. And it sucks that they couldn't get the loan because now they're gonna be up a creek without a paddle, up shit creek without a paddle. And so they started fighting at this point too, shortly after this, and it's once again, part of the plan, but started fighting, right? And this was shortly after they found roaches in the other apartment.
Roaches.
And it was in the sink, and he beat the crap out of Hayes, and the cops came, which he called the police. Hayes called the police prior because he knew this was going to happen, right? And which is just so diabolical to me. And then so he calls the police and he causes this fight to happen, and the police saw them fighting and automatically take Drake away and take Hayes' side, and they have no idea what the story is. And really, Hayes started all this because he came up and but just kind of ridiculous that he's going to these lengths. But that's what you gotta do, I guess, if you want to be a criminal.
When you're a squatter.
When you're a squatter, right? And then the Watanabes move out. The ones that they find the roaches in their apartment. They move out because of all the stuff that's happening. The roaches and the loud music and hammering and sawing in the middle of the night and all that other stuff. Which I get it. You don't want to be in that for forever, so. But they end up moving out. And that sucks too, because then they just lost out on more money.
So they're kind of screwed at this point.
Yeah. So Drake and Patty actually take Hayes to court because he hasn't paid anything and he won't leave, yada yada, and all this other stuff. And they end up losing, all because he turned off the electricity and heat to that side of the house because he wouldn't pay. Which seems like an appropriate reaction, to be honest with you, because if you don't pay for the electric in real life, they shut the electric off.
Exactly.
So him shutting the electric off and the heat because he didn't pay for it kind of makes sense to me.
Because then he has to pay for it.
Exactly.
Yeah, he doesn't have the money to do that.
But then he started having a weird dream, which was just so weird. He was like walking past everybody in his life, and like they were all just like staring at him, and scenes were playing out, and Patty was cheating on him with Hayes in the dream, which seems kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, why him?
But then he wakes up and runs into the bedroom just to see blood on the bed, which is never a good sign, especially in a horror movie. Yeah. And they end up finding out that she actually had a miscarriage, which is just awful.
Terrible.
But he ends up beating up Hayes because he came up the stairs and gave her flowers because he called the hospital and heard that they had a miscarriage. This is probably awful timing, dude. I mean, I know that was part of his plan, to get him to beat him up and take him to jail and stuff.
Kind of like pushing him to his limit.
Right, exactly.
Which I think he reacted appropriately.
Yeah,
if
for sure. If
someone was doing that to me, I probably would have done the same thing.
Exactly. So then he beats up Hayes, goes to jail, gets out. But he has a restraining order, so he can't even come back to his own house. He's kicked out of his own property.
Yeah, which is insane.
Exactly. So then he shows up because Patty called him, and she sounded like worried and scared. Yeah. So he came to see Patty, and Hayes was like hiding in a dark corner, and he said, "Hey, you shouldn't be here." And he's just like, "Hey, it's fine. I just want to go up and see Patty." And he ends up shooting Drake.
Yeah.
Twice. Surprised he didn't kill him at that moment, but he did shoot him. And then the police say that he had every right to do that. To shoot a man on his own property because he has a restraining order, and, well, I guess he planted that crowbar in his hand. But, which seems kind of ridiculous,
Yeah.
To plant the crowbar when he's still awake.
But
he could have just... I don't know.
Yeah.
But this is all still part of his plan, trying to, I guess, win the house from him or something.
That's what it sounds like, right?
Right. So then they finally find a way to get him, evicted and everything, right? And they find out... Well, okay, so they break into the room because he changed the locks at the beginning of the movie. That's why Drake couldn't get in ever.
Uh-huh.
But the sheriff shows up, and they break into their own room, and they find out that they destroyed the house, ripped the entire area that they were staying in apart. And I guess they just sold stuff to make money. Must have been like the copper pipes and
they like ripped the pipes out of the wall.
Yeah,
like they took everything.
It just seems like a lot of effort for something so little, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it couldn't be me.
But then this is where we meet the black guy again. He's apparently working at the police station, and there was a moment when he came out and he's like, "I bet you wish you ran into the black guy now." I was like, it wasn't because you were black.
It's not because you're black. It's because you wouldn't apply.
Yeah. And then she said, "You didn't turn in your application." And he goes, "Yes, I did." She's like, "Well, we didn't get it. That was the stupid note that no one saw." There was 15. There was like 15 people coming in and out of the house and kept stepping on the application, and it got stuck to someone's shoe, and he pulled it off his shoe and threw it in a box.
So dumb.
Like, that's so silly. No one saw that fucking note sitting there on the ground. So Patty ends up talking to Anne, because we find out that Hayes is actually a lifelong criminal, and he's just absolutely crazy. And Anne tells her that, like, hey, it's not even his real name, and he keeps doing this, and you can't stop him, basically. And she's like, watch me.
Squatters' rights.
Squatters' rights. And now she's borderline stalking Hayes at this point, but she's following him around, seeing what he's doing, and where he's staying, and all this other stuff. Which she actually comes up with a clever plan to get into his hotel room that she's using Drake's credit card to pay for.
Yeah.
Under a false identity. He stole the identity from Drake. And she comes up with this plan to get in the room, and she finds all of these fake IDs. Like all of his fake credentials and everything. And then then she found a big folder full of pictures of him. Like all the different size pictures to put on different things. Like, that's just... He's like next level. Insane, right?
Scary insane.
So she ends up canceling everything. Credit cards and all that other stuff. And freezing the bank account and all that other stuff. And actually got him caught. They already knew that, he was a criminal, but he had already skipped town or whatever. And then he got caught because she reported the stolen checks or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was him, so they took him and he threw out this fake story once again just to get out of it, right? And he ends up getting... So Drake's back at the house.
Uh-huh.
And he's sleeping on the couch because he's obviously beat up. And
Poor
Hayes
guy.
ends up getting into the house and beats the crap out of Drake a second time and with a golf club. And then he attacks Patty.
Yeah, dude.
Like, this dude is really
He's
next
losing his
level.
shit.
I know. This is seriously like next level crazy stuff. And so he attacks Drake, he attacks Patty. And, you know, they're basically fighting for their life and stuff, right? Well, he ends up falling on the pipes. Drake reaches up from under the floor and trips him, which I thought was kind of silly, the way he fell. The way he fell was kind of dumb, in my opinion.
Kind of stupid, right?
Yeah, but that's fine. But he ends up dying.
It's fine.
They end up killing him, which the spot he got stabbed in, it would have taken a lot longer for him to die, but whatever.
For the dramatics.
For the dramatics. So they actually ended up wanting to sell the house, and they ended up selling the house for between $800 and $900. So they made a little bit of money off of it, and they didn't explain that the dude got in here and like tortured them.
Yeah.
Basically, they were just like, we want to sell this house and we need to get rid of it now. But it's good that they finally, got rid of it, and they didn't stick around longer than necessary, for sure. So, I liked the movie. What would you rate it?
Like 7.5, 8.
I give it a 7.5, because there were silly parts of the movie, and
yeah, it really did a good job of.
But it was like realistic type.
Yeah, and I'm like, actually, this could happen.
Like, anyone can really do
worse.
that.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives it that extra level.
Extra level. When a story, like a horror movie or anything, is like, oh, this could happen, it makes it 10 times scarier.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I got some fear facts here. There were like 30 some.
Okay.
And all of them were just about almost the same thing, so I didn't write them down, and I got 3 of them. This movie was actually inspired by the screenwriter having the exact same situation.
Oh.
He was renting out an apartment. They didn't pay rent and all squatters' rights and all that other stuff. So that was actually inspired by real events. He didn't try to kill him or anything, but he actually had a tenant that didn't pay and all this, all that stuff. So it actually happens. The guy who played Drake was actually Papa in Stranger Things.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Dr. Brenner. But
Papa.
Drake, the guy who played Drake, actually didn't like working with the lady who played Patty.
Oh, wow.
He didn't like working with her. He says that he specifically remembers her complaining about her period, about having her period. I don't know why that was...
He specifically
I don't know why that's
that.
the one you specifically remember, but that's what he said in an interview. And then for the final one, some law professors actually referenced or shown this movie in class for laws on squatters' rights.
That's
because
insane.
It's pretty realistic to the way it happens.
Scary to even think about that people could do that.
Yeah, like they can just show up and you can't kick them out because they signed a lease, and even though they don't pay you, you still have to go to court to get them kicked out and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So, yes, I give it a 7.5. I enjoyed it.
Me too. I'm glad
for
we
the
did
realistic
this.
factor, silly parts aside. It was a pretty good movie. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, you guys should check it out. It's on Peacock.
It's on Peacock, but if you care about downloading, it's on Amazon Prime to download it.
Oh, there you go.
But go ahead and read the next question.
What movie stars professional wrestler Roddy Piper as a drifter who discovers a box of special sunglasses.
I do want to do this movie eventually.
Do you?
I've never
Okay.
seen it, but
Let us know
on Facebook,
if you know what it is.
if you know what the answer is, we eventually want to do that movie. I hear good things about it.
That'd be cool.
So what is our next movie to end out April? We're gonna end the month of April on what movie, sis?
April Fool's Day.
April Fool's Day. Even though it's not April Fool's Day.
But
we're
good
gonna
one to end on.
Yeah, it's a good one to end on. And I've heard of this movie before.
I don't think I have.
I've heard of it, but I don't know anyone who's actually watched it.
Okay.
So this will obviously be a first watch for me. So
Me too. Cool.
join us next week for that movie, April Fool's Day, and we will catch you later.
Catch you later.